if I can get to this point, virtually anybody, right? Anybody can get here. Anybody can get here. So, welcome to this session. We're going to be looking at something very interesting, and I'm excited. You can hear that from my voice. And I'm also excited you are here. Today, we're looking at Microsoft Dynamics D365. Why I love Microsoft Dynamics is it is a Microsoft. Microsoft is one of the oldest IT companies in the world. So imagine if you get a job in Microsoft, how would you feel? I mean, you're going to feel like top of the world. It's one of those major companies, and SAP is one of them. But Microsoft just has a feel, it has a name, it has, we use Excel, Word, all these things. There is no laptop that doesn't have probably a Microsoft application anywhere in the world. You can see how vast. So to be a consultant in Microsoft, especially within the ERP space, is a privilege and an honor. And to pass that over to you is also a very big deal. But today, it's about Microsoft and it's about not about me. I mean, most of you know me already, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining myself. Just simply put, I'm a Microsoft certified associate for Dynamics. Yeah, Microsoft knows me. I have a number somewhere in Microsoft. Yep. But I'm an associate and I have spent the past 12 years of my life around IT and digital transformation, especially in ERP and in finance, and a whole lot more around, um, you know, invoicing, integrations, tax configurations, and a whole lot, right? I've been, and the beauty of the job we do is you have opportunity to work with global entities. And when you work with global entities, it expands your mind and you can understand value, how these systems drive value across the business, So it's about 12 years driving change across IT systems, AI solutions, and ERP platforms. I bring a proven track record of delivering impactful, streamlining processes and innovation and digital transformation innovation initiatives. For me, that is simply who I am. So it's good to have all of you join. We did this last time, so if you don't mind, if you can just tell us your name and where you're joining from. Why I'm doing this is because most people were not in the first session. So if you don't mind, use the chat. Just say my name is. So I would start. I'm Kelechi, joining from Kelechi A, joining from the UK. So if you can just drop that in the chat, 24 of us, that would be good. Let's just know. Thank you, Mohammed. KLC. Yeah. Mohammed, I did a project in Saudi. Although I was meant to travel, but you guys, my visa did not come up early enough. But I mean, it was a very interesting project. The team in Saudi were very, very nice. So it's good to hear you're joining from Saudi. Ranjandra from the US. Sorry if I don't pronounce the name very well. True from South Africa. Jide, the great from UK. Stephen from India. Thank you very much. Funke is joining from the UK. Debbie from UK. Derek from UK. Roy. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Roy. I'm hoping we're going to bank on your experience. You're already a functional consultant, so thank you for joining. Raphael from Nigeria. Thank you for joining, Raphael. You guys are all welcome. Mo from the UK. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Lara from Nigeria. Vincent from Australia. I mean, a very good. Why this demographics is very good because Microsoft Dynamics is like I said, is a global platform, and there are opportunities in all these countries I've seen. CJ is joining from Nigeria. Gotsin from UAE. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate your time. Now let's go into this fully, and let's just on the let's and remember my sessions are always very interactive, very open. I'm going to unmute the mic at some point because I'll probably ask questions. So I'd like you to learn. Some of you already experienced functional consultants. We want to hear from you what you really think about some of the concepts we're going to be asking about. Some of us are already in other ERPs, but Dynamics is new to us. Let's also hear what you think from where you're coming from. Some of us are accountants, or some of us come from various backgrounds. Let's also hear what you think. So we'll have time to give you the floor to make your comments or use the chat to actually express yourself. So thank you very much, everybody. You already know me. For those who don't, please, you can connect to me on LinkedIn. I'm very, very, very active on LinkedIn, so we can connect there. I also have a YouTube channel where you can, you know, learn more about what we do. This training, what we do, part of what we do in this training is we share the knowledge. I mean, there's nothing about hoarding knowledge with me. The essence is to share the knowledge and make people as informed as possible. So yes, it's good to have you all join. Um, Also, I'm also a Udemy certified trainer. So if you're very conversant with the Udemy platform, I have some trainings on Udemy. If you go to Udemy, just put my full name. It probably drop down all my trainings there, and you can make yourself comfortable with learning if you want to take this out of here. So thank you very much for all of you for joining, and feel free to connect to me, and I'll respond when I see your connections. Now, that being said, let's now go into why we are basically here today. Now, we're here today because there is a problem. No, not a problem. We're here today because, yes, a company has a problem, but we'll get into that problem much later. But before we get into that problem, let's learn about the history of, the system we're about to, learn today. Let's know how has this evolved, because the essence of learning the history is it gives you, a little bit of background into, how the system has transformed, and it helps you as consultants and as, users to understand the platform you're sitting on. It's a very, very robust platform that has a long history. And we're doing this because the topic for today is about Microsoft Dynamics F&O modules. So we're going to learn the modules in Dynamics and how that is used to transform business operations. Now, if you look at the map, you're going to see how Dynamics has, moved over the years. Started as IBM as Sparta in 1998, and from there it has grown from the 2000s, to Microsoft as Sparta 3.0, 2002 to AX. Most of us know about AX. AX is the module that preceded finance and operations. In 2020, 2006, AS was born, and AS has been there from 2006, just in different forms: 2.9, 2.12, AX7. And in 2017, we had Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations. And that, you see, the logo has also changed in 2020. But the system has gone through a lot of transformation. But one thing I realized when I joined Microsoft Finance and Operation is the name of the system, Microsoft Finance and Operation. So when I joined, I was like, okay, finance and operation, this sounds like modules. This sounds like, functions within the business. We have finance department, we have operations department. Okay, so is that the name of the software? Because we have softwares like Sage, SAP, Oracle, and the rest of them. Nobody has finance and operations as a module that is also the name of a system. And of course, that's the beauty of the system. Finance and operation is the name of the software. So it's called Microsoft Dynamics D365 Finance and Operations. So two major words you figure. In the last class, we talked about that. So we're not going to go deep into that at this point. But this is just giving you a history of how far the system has come. Okay. Sorry, let me just adjust my screen. Okay. So we'll go to the next thing. Now, in terms of sorry, let me just check. Okay. Let's see. I'm sharing the right screen. Just a minute. Let's see. Okay. Now, in terms of the core functionality, how Dynamics works, just giving you a brief summary of what the system is used for and the strength of the system. One is most likely where you're going to find Microsoft Finance and Microsoft 365 Finance and Operations are for companies that have over 250 employees. If you have less than that, you want to think about using a module we call Business Central. That's for smaller businesses and SMEs. And two, another great feature when you see Microsoft Dynamics used in an entity is it handles complex multi-entity and multi-country legal structures. Of course, you have a company that is in over 30, 40, 20, 10, 15 locations in the world. That is multi-entity and multi-country legal structure because reporting is based on, the legal, is based on country specific, requirements. But at the end of the day, you need to consolidate that. You need to talk about the concept of, parallel ledgers, currencies, reporting in some countries are reporting in financial principles like GAAP. Some other people are reporting IFRS. Some other people, for example, Germany has their own, accounting principle and all. It's a very long name. However, this is kind of system that you need to manage that kind of platform. And this is what we call the target audience. And it's basically used for mid to large size companies. That's just to give you that context. Now, what you have is a very beautiful pillar of the modules. It's a very beautiful pillar of the modules. So in finance and operations, we have said it's two words, but it's the name of the ERP. We have financial management, we have sales, we have procurement, we have inventory, we have supply chain, we have project management, we have human resource, and we have a lot more within the system. In the next class, probably I'm going to have the time to just walk you through the system and see these modules and what the system looks like. And these are what we call modules. But I'm going to go deeper into this, and that is the essence of the session today. So what we're looking at is finance and operation. Before we go into that, my question is, what is a module in D365 finance and operation? When you hear the word module, for those who are a little bit who are new to the ERP space and to the ERP language, if you don't mind, for those who are already familiar, thank you, Chibuzo from Nigeria. When you hear the word module, what comes to your mind? Because we have said that this pillar is or are the modules we have in D365. So when you hear the word module, what really comes to your mind? And I think that is one of the questions I'm putting forward. And if you have the answer, it's not a textbook's answer, it's just what you think when you hear the word module and how it affects your thoughts. Okay, thank you very much, Mobolaji. Let me unmute you to speak. So please go ahead and let us know when you hear the word module, what comes to your mind. And Mobolaji, you can unmute and speak. Okay, Mobolaji, we're waiting for you. Okay, Jide, please go ahead.
So what comes to my mind is it's a section of the overall integrated business management software as a whole. So for example, finance and operation is a section of the entire D365 ERP. So
okay, thank you very much. A section. Thank you very much. And that's what we want. We it's not about right or wrong. We just want to hear from you, and that is the essence of this. Go ahead, okay. While we wait for Mobolaji. Mobolaji, please, you can unmute your mic and speak.
First, Kelechi, first, I would like to. You made mention of business suite. Business center as a module. It's not a module. It's a smaller version of Dynamics. First, to correct
No,
that.
I didn't
It's
say.
not you said business center was a
No,
module. It wasn't a module. It's a smaller version of Microsoft Dynamics. There are two ERP from Microsoft side. They have Microsoft Dynamics 365 and also Business Center. So if you are a small scale or medium scale business that you cannot go for Dynamics, you can go for Business Center. So it's not, sorry for that. I'll just That's a correction. It's not a module. And coming to a module could be different functional area of an ERP. For example, you have your supply chain, which could be your procure to pay side of your business. You have a module that covers that from your PRO to your payment level. You have different modules and that cover that. You have your inventory module. You have your sales order module. You have your procurement modules and that. So modules are different, like a big ERP, but compacted in different functional areas that can be used for different purpose.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much for your feedback. I appreciate your point. And please, I can never say Business Central is a module because a module is part of a system. And I work with Business Central. So thank you for the correction. I mean, it's just re-emphasizing that we have. Remember when I talked about Business Central, I talked about finance operation being used for companies that are 250 users and above, and I said anything less than that, you want to go for the smaller ERP, which is Business Central. So I think Bolaji, okay, probably you did not hear me very well, but thank you for re-emphasizing that. That's a good point. In case anybody got it confused. Roy, please, you can go ahead.
Should I
Yeah.
go ahead? Hello?
Yeah, okay,
Should I
Mobalaji, you can go ahead now. Yes, thank you.
Okay. A
What
module
is a
is just
module?
like it's a component. It have a list of components that provide other functions within the entire main function. For instance, where you have financial module, it contains all the other financial functions, which we call the submodules, like AP, AR, GL, fixed assets, cash management. So those are the components which are the submodules for the main module, which is financial management. So just like we have the supply chain as well, which involve inventory, purchase order, and all those other things, sourcing and every other details about it.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much, Mobalaji. I'm just thinking, if we're and Roy, let me hear Roy speak. Roy, if you were to explain this to your mom, who really have no idea about what a module is, she has seen your system and she has seen Dynamics and she has asked you what is Dynamics. And she said, "Oh, okay, I'm seeing a module. What is a module?" How would you explain that to somebody who really has no idea? Because I'm seeing words like functional components. These are very nice words, but at the end of the day, it will take that needs to be broken down a little bit more further. And I think Mobilogy tried as much as possible to call it sub-module and try to break down the functions. So go ahead, Roy. Let's hear from you what you think a module is.
Thanks, Kelechi. So for an African parent, the best way to explain something is that you have to reference money to them. I believe it also applies the same in Nigeria, most of the other parts of Africa. So for me, this is, okay, in a layman's term, this is how I would reference what a module is. So let's take like in the form of a house. D365 can be like, and the house has several rooms. So let's say you have a living room. The purpose of a living room is this. The purpose of a bedroom is this, is to sleep in it. Living room is where to stay. Drawing room is where maybe to do your art or hold some meetings. So that's how I would define a module to like okay, the literal talked about to my mother or in layman's terms. But
we can no longer hear you. Can you guys hear him? Hi. Wow, I was beginning to enjoy that, Roy. Sorry. Okay, you're back. It's Roy. Roy, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello, Roy.
I think
hear me?
I think his connection cut off. His lagging. It's probably he can hear you, but you probably can't hear him. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys.
Do you mind if I chip in a little bit, just to, because I'm a big fan of using like really good simple methodologies to explain stuff.
Go ahead.
Right. So the way I see an ERP is this: for those of us who are into, So the way I see a model is this: for those of us who are into football, right? If you look at a football team, you have different departments. Okay, you have the goalkeeping department, you have the defense department, you have the midfield, and even inside of the midfield, there are different kind of, roles you can play. Then you have the strike force, right? So think of a module as sections of those of a football team. So you could be a defender, you could be a goalkeeper, you could be a midfielder, you could be a striker. That's the way I see it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. And let me tell you something, guys. If you ever go for an interview and you're asked question about a concept, they ask you something like, "What is this?" They didn't ask you to explain. You see, you will most likely get the job when you explain using scenarios. It is so interesting, it is so engaging. And you see these two examples, they will stick in my head even when these two guys have left, even when we have ended this meeting. So one thing I want to add is part of your learning, and including, if you add that to your soft skills, is when you're asked a question and it's, and try to get into a place of breaking it down in a scenario. If you get to that level, there is no interview in this world you cannot pass. So if I ask you what is this, don't make it more complicated for me, or don't use jargons. But if you're interviewing with an architect or somebody who is at a very high level, yes. But if you check the room and people you're interviewing, and you're interviewing for example, a finance functional role, and you have accountants there, you have CFO, you will make a very big mistake if you use concept that is system heavy and they don't understand what you're saying. But you see these two examples, perfect. And kudos to you guys. Kudos to all those who have contributed. For the want of time, sorry, Ayo, I'll have to pick up to you next time. But this is an example of what a module is. And if you understand this in this light, and that's the way I like teaching ERP. ERP is not complex. It's just the way people teach it. If you teach ERP to be complex, it will be complex and confusing for a lot of people. But if you teach it in a way that people understand the basics, so that when they go back, they can think about it and it makes sense to them. And that's how it works. And just to buttress, move through what these guys have said, and that is a perfect example of what a module is. I'm going to use the concept of a business. I'm going to use the concept of the business. If you walk into any company now, you're going to see different rooms or different offices or different platforms. So if you walk into any company, you will see finance department. Most likely, you will see people in sales if they are selling, buying and selling. You're going to see people in HR. Definitely, you must have HR. You're going to see somebody in security, maybe, or what people we call what do we call them now? We can call them technical people. There's a word we use when we, in Nigeria, IT, whatever, an IT department. You most likely, and this is typical, just average business, you most likely see somebody in admin. Now, and these are all different offices working in the same company, as it were. So they are all separate entities. No, so when everybody comes to work, everybody sits in those offices, but they are all sitting under the umbrella of a company. They are all working for a company. So basically, and these people in business language, they all fall under what we call business processes. So they are working for a business, and these are different processes within that business. So they are, everybody is doing their bits to be able to make the business profitable. So if you go to HR, for example, HR have their ways of working. If you go to finance, finance have their ways of working. Everybody have their own way of working, which is a process. For example, if you want finance to pay you, let's say finance wants to pay a vendor, finance has a process of paying a vendor that they must have to follow before they can successfully pay the vendor. So within these departments are processes. Every department has a way of working. And what we're saying a module is without making it sound so, heavy, is a module is a process within an organization, as simple as it is. So all these processes, whether in finance, whether in HRO, they are all doing certain activity every day, 9 to 4, and they pay them. Right? So everybody is working and everybody has their way of working, and that way of working falls within a process. And as long as you do your process and you do it well and fine, you're getting paid. And that ties back to what a module is. So ideally, if you look at it, I'm going to cite another example. This is a very big shopping mall. We are all aware of shopping malls. Inside a shopping mall, you have shops. You can have shop A. This one might be Mr. Biggs, for example. Inside that shop, you will have what's all these pizza spots. Inside that mall, you're going to have people that are into electronics. Inside that mall, you have probably a barbing salon. So these malls are called modules inside that big shopping mall. So each shop in that mall is called a module, and the whole mall is called an ERP system, which is D365 F and O. And all the shops share the same building. Take note, all the shops are inside the same building. They are enjoying the same power, the same security, the same database, because they will definitely have internet. So there will be some form of an IT infrastructure. They will share all that. They will share the same, platform in terms of power and in terms of other what we call utilities within the building. And that is the power of, that is what a module is in the context of an ERP. So when you're coming into Dynamics, you need to see yourself as a shop in the mall. The mistake is if you come as a consultant into the ERP ecosystem and see yourself as the mall, you're making a very big mistake. You're not the mall. You are a shop in the mall. And you are also going to be using the resources in that mall. And that's one mindset I need to pass on, so that when you go into implement, when you become a consultant and you get into project, you know that you alone cannot make the system work. Modules have to interact together. That is the concept of ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. All these modules, processes need to come together to be able to help management make good decisions. Or else, in the past, these modules work differently. So it will take, before a company makes a decision, they probably have to go through days and days of, bringing all the information together. But once you sit in a platform like D365, if the procurement guy is raising a PO, he understands that finance at some point will come in, warehouse at some point will come in, sales at some point will come in. The workflow, the approval workflow that has been set up in the system, which is tied to security and user roles and authorization, will come in. When you understand ERP and modules like that, it helps you as you navigate your career into the system. So for those who are new, that is exactly what a module is. And I believe that when you go back, you now understand that D365 has modules, and each of these modules are working together. They are all interconnected. And one of the beauty of working with finance is each of these modules must touch finance. That's why finance is always the most sought after skill for any ERP, whether it's SAP, whether it's Oracle, anyone, because you must integrate with finance. In fact, the main reason why they implemented ERP is they want to know at the end of the day what are our financial status, how are we doing as a business, not just finance, but generally also in operations. But everything that has financial implication must touch finance. I don't think there's any module that is not integrated with finance. Whether it's inventory, supply chain, human resource. Human resource has the finance part, of course, when you pay salaries and when you pay people's gratuity and all who whatnot. All right, thank you very much. Now, I've used this analogy. Now, let's look at why modules matter. Now, modules in an ERP matters because they organize work by function. So everybody has their function. Everybody have what they do in the context of module. Also within a module, you can assign responsibilities to teams. So you can say, since you're in finance, this is your area of responsibility. Since you are in logistics or HRO, this is your level of responsibility. And also another thing is, with module, you can configure processes independently, because that's why you can have consultants in finance, consultants in supply chain, consultants in HR and all that, because although you can configure them as separate units, at the end of the day, they are all integrated. They need to be integrated with each other to be able to give you that view that you need to be able to make good decisions. And of course, there is control, there is security, by roles, and integrate processes automatically. Every process within the module are all integrated, automatically. Now, what you have on the screen is what we call everything about Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations, module-wise. And that is why I'm showing you this, is so you understand that the opportunities in Dynamics are massive. And every of this module need consultants. Every of this module needs consultants. So whether you're in supply chain, or you're in sales, or you're in procurement, or you're in, HRO, or you're in project management, or you're in service management, or you are in finance or business intelligence and reporting, there are opportunities. Module-wise, it is very large. So it is a very robust system that can serve a lot of functions within the business. So this is a very good insight for you as you navigate through your career. Now, this again is just giving us a very brief summary of the core modules in finance and in supply chain summarized. So in finance, you have about 10 of these modules, from GL to AP to ARO to cash and bank to budgeting, fixed asset, cost accounting, credit and collection, tax management, and of course financial reporting. Supply chain, you have procurement, inventory management, warehouse management, master planning, and all that. And of course, the technical modules, you have things like electronic reporter, data management, workflow management, security and compliance. Most of these modules have separate accountants for them. So it's very interesting. Now, this will take us to a business case, and this is where it really gets interesting. Now, also, I cannot teach you module without first giving you I'm going to take you through why module is important using a business case. And I'm going to just do that briefly. So if you can listen carefully, this will be interesting for all of us. Now, I'm going to end my class here. So if you want to understand the concept of module through the eye of a project or through the eye of a scenario, be my guest. Now, we have a business case, which I'm going to be reading. For the one, I'm not going to be showing it because I don't want to be going through two different screens. Now, we have a company called, listen very carefully, we have a company called FlexTube, and I'm going to ask you questions after this scenario so that, we can learn the essence of this class is not just come and run through slides. It's to challenge, is to all those who I want to also hear from, those who are also experienced as well as those who are also trying to figure out what this whole thing is all about. We had a company called FlexTube Limited, and just listen. This is a scenario. FlexTube Limited is an equipment manufacturer. You can write company. I'm not going to read everything, but just key points. It's an equipment manufacturing company, and they have stayed for over 50 years. Take note. And they are in 3 countries. 1, Nigeria, 2, US, and 3, Germany. Just listen carefully and follow me through the journey. And if you have a note, you can write it somewhere so you can respond. So they are an equipment, manufacturing company. They have been there for 50 years, and they are in 3 countries as at this time: Nigeria, US, and Germany. Now they have been using 3 different accounting systems because, of course, they are in 3 different countries. So in Nigeria, they use Sage. In US, they use Oracle. In Germany, they use a local accounting software, for managing their day-to-day operations. So they use 3 different accounting softwares. However, they have recently acquired, so now FlexTube acquired a company called YesPay. And YesPay is a CRM and payment gateway company. The CRM and payment gateway. So, because this was a major issue for them. So FlexTube has acquired a company called YesPay, a CRM and a payment gateway company. Follow me as much as you can. Now, this FlexTube has 6 departments. FlexTube has 6 departments: finance, logistics, HRO, procurement, sales, and manufacturing. FlexTube has 6 departments: finance, logistics, HRO, procurement, sales, and manufacturing. And of course, we have said that they use different systems to manage these whole process. Now, why are we here? Now, FlexTube, because they have acquired a new business, they have started thinking about integrating these platforms. We cannot, if we want to grow and they have a goal, of course, being one of the Fortune 500 companies. If we want to do that, we need to be able to have a single source of truth. We want to see everything. We want to stay in the US, for example, where the headquarters is, and see everything. We don't want, individual country-specific kind of reporting. So we want to integrate our platform and make sure. So it is one of the reasons is to integrate processes, integrate business, and of course, by extension, processes. Now, they acquired YesPay, but YesPay is also in India, YesPay is in South Africa, and YesPay is in the UK. So now they have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. FlexTube is now in 6 countries by the virtue of acquiring YesPay. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Now, the directors, after, they are bidding for bigger jobs, in bigger countries, but the feedback is, we have had that, your operations are not so effective. Your decision making is poor. your customers, also feedback from customers say that communication with the business is very difficult because, getting feedback is difficult. So the directors have decided to change their current system and move to one platform. So they have decided to move to one platform. We don't know the platform yet. And sorry, we have decided to move to one platform, which is Microsoft Dynamics D365 Finance and Operations. Through a director meeting, they have decided to move all these 6 countries to one platform, D365. Now, Kelly Freeze, who was definitely the CEO, has made it his personal, ambition to see that this program succeeds. So there is a very high pressure from the top to be able to make sure that this is a success. In a kickoff video conference earlier in the implementation, he rallied over 3,000 employees. So that acquisition made that they had 3,000 employees, urging them to see this program as key to FlexTube growth and prosperity. And of course, they are set up steering committees and other committees to be able to drive this implementation. Now, the board has indicated D365, and why, they have, so the board, of course, made up of few people. Half of them have signed off for D365. The other half are still very skeptical whether D365 can manage their end-to-end business process across all countries. Now they want us, who are all consultants in Microsoft Dynamics, to convince them or to make a presentation to show how Dynamics can deliver on this major task that they have. So they have reached out to one of the Dynamics partners, and fortunately for us, we are all employees of that company, and they want us to, drive this implementation. No, first is they want us to be able to show how D365 can, solve this problem of integration across the business. So one question that I will put forward to the House is, how will D365, having understood the concept of modules, how would you advise? So how would you advise the directors about the functionalities of D365 F&O to meet their needs? One question to the House. So, I mean, if you have gone through the scenario, you have seen how complex, this request is, and you have seen what transformation they're about to go through. I'm putting a question to the House. If you are, haven't heard what a module is, how would you advise this company? If you're part of the implementation team, how would you convince those skeptical directors that, based on your departments and based on the concept of integrating business processes, how will D365 meet with these needs? Anybody wants to give an attempt? Nothing serious, just how would you go about this? All right, thank you very much, Jide. Okay. I think Jide, you can speak. You're the first.
I think, just following context here, we have 2 organizations that are in play now. FlexTube and YesPay. They look to be a multinational organization now if they merge, because we're looking at Nigeria, US, Germany, India, South Africa, and UK. And I would want to assume that YesPay already has a lot of those departments that FlexTube already has. So if we're thinking about a single source of truth that can merge all these departments into a fully functional operating unit, whereby we have an integrated business management software that can facilitate a seamless sort of coordination of all the business processes that we have in these various organizations, our ability to create various legal entities via something like D365. I think D365 is a software that can meet all those needs, just starting from the basic ability to be able to create various entities
legal
across
entities.
various countries around the world, and then merging all those business processes together into one, so that you can have them as a single source of truth, and you can use finance to interact in between all these various modules, like you said earlier, because finance will play a huge role in this. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much.
That's how I
Thank you
would
very
convince
much.
them. Yeah. I'm sorry it's a bit ad hoc the way I said it, but I just kind of used all those things that you
It's
said.
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Thank you very much for that. Go ahead, Ayo. Add or contribute or give us your idea. 3 minutes. Ayo, if you're there, unmute. Okay, if you're there, since Ayo is taking some time.
Okay.
You can also.
Thank you, Kelechi. The first thing I would like to understand is, being that the business, they operate from different locations, different countries, and you want an ERP that can cater for the different legal requirements of taxation and the compliance of those countries. So the first thing you want to understand that Dynamic provides such a big platform that can cater for the legal requirements of financial requirements for different countries in terms of their reporting requirement for the country. And at the same time as well, so we also want to understand that the parent company is in the US. So whatever they are doing, they must be multinational multi-currency kind of transaction, and also multi-ledger kind of a thing, that because we want to be able to report everything we do to the parent company, where they can view everything at a glance to see the big picture of the group as a whole entity together. So when you're discussing with the board, you want to be able to assure them that the Dynamics can provide such a platform that they can still have the requirement for individual countries roll up to the parent company as well too. So you want to look at, okay, the software can cater for multi country, each country requirements, and also the parent company requirements. So now we're looking at to have two kind of chart of accounts. You have the country chart of account and also the group chart of account, which also could as well to also want to have multi-reporting currency, because you have your group reporting currency and also your local reporting currency as well too, which Dynamic also provide as well too. So you're looking at like I provide all this functionality and also cater for the different department usage within the same ERP.
Thank you very much, Ayo. I'm taking notes and I'll probably do a summary when we're done. Thank you, Ayo, and thank you, Jide. Sorry, thank you, okay. And thank you, Jide. Ayo, are you back now? If you're not back, if you cannot unmute, I saw Ike now. I think he has left. His hand is out. Okay, Ayo. Yes, Ike now. You can speak now. That will be the last, so that we can wrap up.
Okay, thanks, Kelechi. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay. I think the last speaker had actually said it all. Obviously, D365 will be able to provide country requirements for each of the companies. Okay. Considering obviously the merger of the two companies, there will be duplication of functions, obviously roles, duplication, and with D365, it will enable, obviously, streamline those duplications so that at least you, if it has somebody sitting at the head office, or if you want somebody sitting at, depending on where it is, they can obviously streamline those roles, okay, and obviously help reduce costs as well. And then also it will make it operations easier and faster, because you don't need to use different systems, okay, across systems. So this, in addition to what obviously the last person said, where legal requirements to also keep the company good in terms of its legal and for even tax purposes as well. Okay, so
thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to say a very big thank you to all those who have spoken. I was taking notes, and you have spoken very well. And I think that I allowed you people to speak, so it doesn't look like this thing is it doesn't look like it's about the speaker. We all have in fact, all the people who have spoke about this have some very good understanding of what it looks like. But you can see the level of knowledge from each of the speakers. And the first person hit the nail at the head, which is legal entities. And let me summarize. Let me say everything everybody said, then I'm going to summarize because it was very informative. One is legal entities. Two is merging business requirements. Three is reporting requirements for these entities and for these countries. Four is multi-ledger, what we call parallel ledger, according to OK. Is the concept is that different countries have different financial reporting requirements. For example, in the US, financially they report using GAAP. GAAP is a generally accepted accounting principle. That's what they use to present their financial statements to stakeholders. If you come to most countries in EU and in Africa, we use IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards. You will also have to make sure that those countries within those locations prepare their accounts according to the regulations or international reporting standards in those countries. And it's a very vital point because that rolls up to anything around group reporting and consolidation. So the idea is that, let me break it down as simple as possible for those who are also not finance heavy. The idea is that, for example, let me use this. I think I have few time. I would have loved to explain a little bit more deeper. So this is US, and this is UK, for example. Now, UK has laws, US has laws, and this is the company in the middle. This is FlexTube. Now, UK has laws, and they will prepare their processes. First, within these laws, you have currency, and within these laws, you have reporting. Here you have currency, and here you have reporting. Now, when US FlexTube US is doing transactions, they're going to be doing transaction based on two things. One is the USD, and two is based on GAAP, which is like a law for those who are not finance. Every profession has a law that like a very big law that you have to follow to be able to do certain things. So that's what GAAP is. It's a law in the US that if I want to see my income and expense, you have to follow that law in presenting your account in that way. So that's for the US. The UK has GBP, currency, and the UK also has IFRS as a law on how they should prepare their books, in quote. Now the question is, how, if we have a group company and the headquarters is in the US? So the question is, when we in the UK, when we're engaging with customers, they are paying in USD and we're recording our transaction in IFRS, when we want to do group reporting, so for example, in the US, the tax authorities in the US will expect that the US, which is the head office, will have one financial statement for all the countries. So every country will submit their manually, for example, they will submit statements and US will now compute it. But when you're using an ERP like Dynamics, as you post transactions in your currency and in your reporting and for reporting purposes, automatically there is a consolidation that merges and translates GBP transactions into USD. I don't want to go into those technicalities, but at the end of the day, FlexTube will have one book, one financial statement for all the companies, one, but it will receive information from each country. See how complicated it can be. But that is the idea of what you should be. That is our work as consultants, to be able to understand these concepts and then, of course, engage with the users to be able to deliver on the solution based on this concept. So that's also consolidation and group reporting are two things that go hand in hand. Somebody talked about localizations, which is also very important. Each country has laws, rules, processes, policies that you need to follow to do what you need to do. So even though we are going to make sure that we have group reporting, we need to set up the system also to make sure that it can handle local stuff. So if I'm in Nigeria now, for example, the VAT in Nigeria is 7.5. All my invoices will be, that is, all my invoices in Nigeria will follow 7.5 VAT rates. It will not follow US VAT rates because I'm running my operations in Nigeria. So it is one of those example of localization requirements that your system needs to be designed to fit that country. Then we have talked about consolidation, how to roll it up to the headquarters. So, but I mean, okay, talked about that. Next is chart of accounts. I won't want to go into that because that's a very huge field. But the idea is that just the same way a business, a market woman has a small book. If you observe these market women, they have a very small book that they put inside their pocket. They write all the things that they spend and what they have bought and the value and all that and what they have spent, and somehow they have a way of knowing that they made profit. Those things are ledgers. So they write, okay, I spent money for fuel, I spent money for transport, I spent money for to go to the market and buy things. All those things are in finance, they are called ledgers. So you just track them according to how they have happened. That's the concept of chart of accounts. I'm not going to go deep into that, but it's also very important because every financial implication must hit the ledgers. That is the rallying point for all finance related transaction because it is from the ledgers it rolls up to giving you your financial statement. But I don't want to go deep into that. We've talked about consolidation. Of course, I talked about streamlining roles. Roles and responsibility is very important because you don't want to have somebody who should not have access to finance related things doing finance related things. So that's the concept of segregation of duties and roles and responsibilities. We need to be able to define that so that people will stay within the confines of their roles and responsibilities and functions within the system. You don't want a HR person to have access to bank accounts. No. So it's also within the concept of ERP that this needs to be set up. And as we're explaining this, remember, we're trying to convince the director that indeed Dynamics can handle the complexities of your business. Then last is somebody also I talked about operational scalability. It's important to make sure that the system is also aligns with operations. By operation, we mean supply chain, manufacturing, cost accounting, and the bits that goes with core operations, especially supply chain. So it's important that we're able to do PO, we're going to receive items, we're able to make deliveries, we're able to do material acquisition planning, we're able to run through production. We're able to break down our cost of production into the three major costs, which is direct materials, direct labor, and overheads, and split that through. That's a topic for another day. But as I'm saying this, I'm trying to convince the directors that look, even operational wise and manufacturing wise, we have the platform to be able to manage how your operations will run. And the last is I also talked about taxation, and taxation, which is a very big deal. In all of these countries, they have to pay their taxes. So you need to have a system that can manage the complexities of tax. In the US, for example, if you have not done an implementation in the US, US has the most complex tax structure in the world from my research, because there are taxes at every level. There are taxes at local level, there are taxes at federal level, at county level, different levels. That's with the concept of jurisdiction. You'll probably see it there in the US. So every country has their tax requirements that the system needs to make sure, because tax is about compliance. And if you don't do that, the penalties can be very heavy. So you have to make sure your system is, and of course, we have the concept now of, for example, in UK, we have Making Tax Digital, we have invoicing, we have different platforms where the government is saying, don't come and submit tax to us locally. Connect to our tax platform. Your invoices will flow from D365 to the tax platform. We will stamp your invoice and make sure that the VAT in those invoices, we have a copy of it. So there's nothing like, mistake. As you're raising invoices in the system, it is integrated to the tax platform, and they are scanning and document and cloning your invoice to be able to see the VAT element. That's where their concern is. So at the end of the month, if you file VAT $100, but they have scanned $200, you have to explain why we have difference in your tax filings. So you see, the world is getting processes are getting much more complicated. You know, um, you know, technology is making things a little bit more easier, but also faster. And there is a lot of requirements. We have so many requirements that the system will need to shaping up. So that will take us to the concept of fit to gap. But again, that's an issue for another day. The question is, when we are implementing, how do we know exactly what a country needs the system to do for them? It's a concept that is sitting more on the project management side of the system. And in dynamics, which we'll learn much later, we don't just go into projects like that. No, we have project management methodology, which is called success by design, which is also linked to, um, the concept of life cycle services, and a lot more that will go. So in dynamics, we'll talk about project management maybe in our next session. There is a way we implement projects in dynamics. There is a structured best practice way you should go about implementing a project. And you also need to learn that, because that's the way the platform is. You can't just rush into it and start implementing. No, there is a standard format that you need to go through to implement projects. So for me, this is just me giving you an idea of what happens when, companies are deciding to choose a certain ERP, what they consider, how you play a major role in making sure that, you deliver that value that the business needs. So first is understanding the challenges businesses go through. This scenario, you have seen how complex and how complicated businesses can be. And, the funny thing is that I was asking somebody, where would there be need for consultants till eternity? Because nobody can fully solve a company's problem. There's no time a company will not have problem. There is no time. And the pace of change right now in the world, the way technology is transforming very quickly, is just something else. So this scenario would give you an idea of what projects, of how companies come to a point of deciding to use an ERP. The challenge is that is very huge. Every company in this world has a challenge. that they are trying for their ERP to solve. And also, you have also heard from, not just me, but from people who have, contributed in the call, how they will go about approaching these issues. And I mean, I got very good insights. And that is exactly how you should position yourself. Even when you go for an interview, your understanding of these concepts and coming from the problem and providing a solution is really what would give you that edge in terms of getting those jobs. So I think I'm going to end here. It's very interesting. The next steps of this will now be looking at the next phase. If we have convinced the directors, what happens? Hopefully, of course, we go to the project side. Contracts will be signed off. We assign a project manager, a BA, a functional consultant, and the real work starts. Now, what is your role? What role do you play as the project kickstarts? What methodology are we using? I've talked about the success by design, which is an agile methodology we use to drive projects. There is agile, there is Scrum, there are different methodologies we can use and what tools do we need to use to drive these projects? And it's giving you that deep understanding that being a consultant, that word consultant is not about systems, neither is just about process. It's an end-to-end view of understanding a company's problem, translating that problem into requirements, documenting those requirements carefully, and translating those requirements, those pain points into system design and technical design, and going back to the business and let them own those processes. And at the end of the day, you will see value from implementations. So is that end-to-end mindset, you know, so you can position yourself as a balanced consultant. I call somebody who is a balanced consultant, somebody who understands business problems, is able to translate them, and also understands how to design the system to be able to solve those problems. Because no matter how much you know the system, if you don't know process, if you don't know the business, it's going to be very difficult. And that's what we have in the world. We have a lot of consultants who know the system, but many of them do not understand how a business functions. So when they are configuring and designing things, they are designing things based on system knowledge. They're not designing things based on business process knowledge. And really, I mean, the essence of the ERP is to solve the problem of the business, not to just design system for the want of it. And so it's giving you that idea now that this field is not as straightforward or easy as people think. It's a combination of knowledge, but we have to start from somewhere and grow as we, but the essence is in April, we're starting a new batch. And that's the mindset I want, I want people to have, that being a consultant is much more than just knowing the system. It's farther than, in fact, for me, if you check the implementation, the success by design implementation strategy or methodology, system is somewhere towards the end. You need to make sure you have understood the problem and you have documented what needs to be resolved. Break them down into processes, end-to-end views, and of course, identify the gaps. Because Dynamics, whether you like it or not, cannot solve all the problems of a business. No way. It cannot solve it cannot solve all the process problems of a business. There are some requirements in the business that Dynamics cannot solve. How do we manage those kind of issues? We call them gaps when you do your fit to gap standard workshops. Now you have to talk about the concept of integrations. How do I work with technical teams to be able to integrate? For example, we need a CRM system, a customer relationship system, to speak with Dynamics because the business says they want it and it's a must-have. So how, as a functional consultant, as a BA, how do I engage with the technical team or third parties to be able to deliver on that? So it's much more than just the system. You see, it's a whole lot more that happens. Now there is compliance in EU that companies must make sure that their invoices are electronically based. What's my role in that? How do I support the business to transition and support the system to transition to make sure we comply with regulations and requirements in country? So there's a lot that goes on in ERP. ERP is not just about the system, it's a whole range of stuff. And I think, that's what we will start looking at sometime in April. It will be out here. So if you're interested, in the journey, it's not a destination, it's not about jobs. I try to tell people who I train, and I'm not a fan of training a large group of people. No, I'm not. It's not my style. My style is to get few people who really want to go through a journey and who want to transform. They just want to know the system. They want to, they want to be proud and bold and confident and use it to transform their life. It's not just about rushing and I want to apply for. No, 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 no. So jobs are good, but if you use that approach, you can just go and learn it in 1 month and put CV. But unfortunately, people will struggle because the job market does not favor those who just do a rash kind of stuff. I've been there before. And if you watch my career, my video on career, to make you understand. Because when you go to the market, they are not just looking for somebody who can configure the system. I said that last time. They are looking for somebody who can solve problems. A consultant is a problem solver, not necessarily just configuring systems. So to solve a problem, you need to understand the root cause, and you need to be able to understand how all these whole thing connects together. And that is the level of detail we get to. So thank you very much, guys. If you have any questions, please, you can use the chat. I hope you have learned. I hope it's been engaging. Understand now the concept of modules. You understand from the business case how, these modules are supposed to come together and how they're supposed to deliver for this company, and the concept of, D365 and, how D365 goes in resolving these issues. So in summary, of course, we're going to engage with Flex2. We're going to, go through the whole end-to-end process of implementing, set up all the modules that they need to do their job, make sure the integrations they need are also working, make sure they are complying with international reporting standards and also local requirements, support them, train them, and they go live. And everybody is happy, but it's not that easy. So we're going to end here. Let me see if we have any questions. Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for dropping. Oh, sorry, Ayo. I didn't know I put you on mute. Oh, let me check. Oh, no, sorry if you're not here. Sorry, I put you on mute. I'm so sorry. I thought I left you. Yes, the recording is here. So thank you very much, guys. Recording is available. If you have not connected to me on YouTube, do well to do that, because I'll be dropping the recordings there and also in the chat group. So if you're not in the chat group, reach out to me. You can let me drop my number here, because you can send me a message. Yes, you can send me a message on WhatsApp and I'll add you to the group, or you can connect to me on LinkedIn. Just type my full name and you're probably going to see me. So in the absence of any questions, thank you so much, guys, for joining. It was a good time, speaking with you all. Okay, I'm going to share the whiteboard. Thank you very much. All right, guys, let's have a very good day and have a very good weekend. And thank you. Just look forward to the next time. There's a lot to talk about in Dynamics. Hopefully next time we're going to, talk about the architecture, about Dynamics and the architecture, how everything really works behind the scene and what you need to know. We'll talk about the project management methodology we use to drive projects and what that is. And of course, we have looked at the market. Hopefully, we'll take time to look at opportunities, how to prepare. And for those who are going to join the session, it's a journey, and I look forward to having you all there. So thank you guys. Let's have a very good evening, and thank you for all those who contributed, all those who joined. It's an honor having you here. Have a great weekend, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelechi. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.